day. Joining us now is Matthew McLaughlin, a co-founder of Fertile Ground Beer, and Brian Drennan, president of Capital City Beverages. Matthew, Brian, thanks for coming on Middays, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
All right, Matthew, you always got your hands in all sort of stuff. What do you got going on now here?
Well, we started a brewery. So back in May, we opened Fertile Ground in the Belhaven neighborhood. Probably about a 2-year process to get to that point. Planning it in the midst of a global pandemic presented some challenges, as you can imagine. But we are open, and we are filling up the tap room with bodies. And I guess 2 weeks ago went into distribution with Capital City, and we are now getting beer out throughout the metro area.
Wow. So who approached whom here? Did you go to Capital City, say, hey, look, we got this new beer we'd like you to consider distributing it, or Brian, were you aware of it, and did you approach Matthew? How'd that come about?
So we were aware that they were looking, had conversations with one of their founders, Matt Jeffries, who has a lot of distributor experience, restaurant experience. So I had conversations with them. We're not sure when the time was they were going to distribute. One thing I'll say is that there are brewers that come out and immediately want to try to distribute.
Yeah.
And what we were really impressed with, they took their time. They got the tap room running and really got the quality of the beer. And so we had those conversations after they started brewing beer.
Gotcha. All right, so Matthew, there's a lot of beer out there. How do you come up with a formula that says, hey, this is different, taste this?
Well, I hope we have.
Sure. Time
will tell. I think Mississippi has sort of lagged behind the rest of the country with respect to craft beer. We had a brewery in Jackson for a while, Lucky Town, which closed a few years back, and we saw a void in the market. We really wanted to provide a space as much as a brewery and put good quality beer out in the market. We wanted to provide a space, a taproom space where people could come and hang out and be that sort of cohesive glue in the community, if you will. I don't think I ever would have done this if it weren't for the location of where the brewery is, which is in the Belhaven neighborhood. That neighborhood presents us with some unique advantages over other parts of the metro area. We're in a neighborhood. We've got 2,000 rooftops within walking distance. We have a large hospital system right across the street. We've got UMMC, we have Fondren. There's just a density there that you can't really achieve elsewhere. So it was the location was critically important and really one of the main reasons why we did this.
So you just had a grand opening here recently, right?
In May we did, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So is your plan to distribute beyond this area, beyond the borders of Mississippi or central Mississippi?
Yeah, we believe that healthy things must grow, and if this grows to the point where consumers are wanting it and pulling it through the market, then absolutely. I mean, our focus right now is central Mississippi to the exclusion of almost everywhere else. We want this to be Jackson and Central Mississippi's brand. We want it to be adopted. We want people to be proud of it. And until we hit a point where we've got a certain amount of volume in this market, we're not gonna go out from here right now.
What's the demand been like, Brian?
Well, it's been good, and we've only launched on premise, so it's been limited to restaurant and bars. But the reception's been great. The one thing they've done is they've brewed beers that are very drinkable, lagers and pilsners. They have IPAs and pale ale, but we've gone to the market with a lager. And reception's been great, and our issue now is just getting more beer from them.
Yeah. So, Matthew, if someone is informed and becomes aware of Fertile Ground beer, and they say, hey, what kind of beer is it? What does it taste like? How do you describe it?
So we are trying to make something available for everyone. That's sort of what we lead with. But at the end of the day, we're in Jackson, Mississippi. It is incredibly hot down here a lot of the year, and we don't think that craft has really done a good job of kind of reaching across the aisle to people that have historically consumed larger, more macro-oriented products.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Brian said, we're kind of leading with lagers and pilsners and things. Those are beers that we like to drink, but they're also beers that Mississippians like to drink. We did a tremendous amount of market research with 3 NBA teams from Millsaps to kind of validate the thesis that we had, and so far it's proven to be true. So whether you drink, a traditional sort of macro beer that your dad or your grandfather drank, we've probably got something that you can relate to. Or if you're, a hophead and have been into craft beer for 20 years and you like hazy, dank, or, even sour beers that are fruited, we've got those for you too.
So is there, Brian, kind of a community of beer aficionados, of connoisseurs that like to test these different products out, these different beers out and blends and just make decisions there? I'm just thinking about like wine tasters and wine folks,
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things is our goal is when we get it on tap at a restaurant, we don't want to just put something else on. We want to grow the brand. I think the benefit that Fertile has is the location they're in. They can be the ones that really test new beers. Yeah. And so they can have 16 beers on tap. They can have sours and IPAs. And then when they see the demand and what people like to drink, then that's when they bring it to us and we can take it to the market. And then eventually, hopefully in the spring, we'll be taking it in cans to convenience stores and grocery stores across the entire market.
Gotcha. Matthew, is this a product, beer in general, where you introduce a brand new one, and based on feedback and reception, you may change the formula a little bit?
You can. Yeah, it's not necessarily about the formula changing. It's more about the portfolio may change a little bit. So I'll give you an example. We have what we call our Core 4, which is a German-style Pilsner, a Helles light lager, a pale ale, and what is an IPA that is kind of a blend of a West Coast and a New England style IPA. Those were the 4 that we chose based on the research that we did, and we are mining in real time our sales data in the tap room and making adjustments based on people's preferences. Sure. We internally talk all the time about making data-driven decisions, and so we may not make as much of one product if it is not selling. So it's not necessarily altering the recipe. It's more altering the portfolio approach. And then coupling that with the data that Capital City is getting on the retailer side, we're going to kind of overlay that too and hopefully get really, really hyper-focused on the appropriate mix of what people in the market want.
Is there any sort of trading of information with respect to recipes or formulas, or are you talking about data-driven principles, like associations, groups of brewers?
Yeah. There's a national trade association, the Brewers Association, which is kind of the trade association for the profession on a national basis. And then kind of underneath that, you have state guilds, which really started out as more of a true guild, where artisans come to share ideas and secrets and stuff, and they've now sort of morphed into more advocacy arms for the industry at the state level. But yeah, it is an open and transparent industry where information is shared a lot. I have to put my lawyer hat on a lot of times because some of the things that people want to talk about are protected trade secrets. Yeah. So that's a difficult balance. But yeah, recipes are freely shared. There's books that are published that have, recipes in them and things like that. So,
kind of open source, I guess, as we would say in the IT world.
Right, that's right.
Brian, is there a trend amongst consumers, maybe away from the traditional, well-known, popular beers to craft, or is it just kind of two different segments of the market?
I think that Mississippi, I think the benefit that we have right now is there's so much growth potential for craft. We have seen craft grow, not at the levels as other states, but I think as we improve the beer culture and get more people into the tap rooms and educate them, I think that is going to grow, and we'll continue to see that trend. But as far as restaurants and bars, they want new brands and they want different styles of beer, and so our job is to get it out there. And then once they've been drinking it at their bar restaurant, then they'll see it in then the convenience store or grocery store and pick it up.
Yeah, and I got to believe that probably builds some consumer loyalty. They know that they serve that sort of beer. They like that, and that's where they go.
And we want them coming every time they're in there. We want them buying a Fertile Ground. You want them to that be their beer.
Makes total sense. Gentlemen, thanks for coming on. Fascinating. Good luck to you.
Thanks.
You guys, too, with that.
Thank you.
Glad we're doing this in Mississippi, too.
Thank you.